Good morning, everyone. I'm Rajni Yadav, Assistant Professor at Faculty of Pharmacy, Kalinga University. Today, we will be discussing about adverse drug reactions. So, adverse drug reaction is any response to a drug which is noxious and unintended and which occurs as doses normally used in the patients for prophylaxis, diagnosis, or therapy of diseases for the modification of physiological functions. Now, the adverse drug reactions are very important when we talk about the drugs action, because these actions are produced in the body which are not meant to be produced. We can also give them another name as side effects, but side effects, they are having lower severity, but adverse effects, they are having the highest severity. So if any drug is producing any adverse effect, so it is a very important concern that the adverse effects must be noted down and it must be reported also. Now, there are certain factors which can predispose the adverse drug reactions. One is the polypharmacy. Polypharmacy is basically administering a multiple pharmaceutical products inside the body at a single time. So all these products can interact with one another and they can give a bad result in our body. Next one is any intercurrent diseases. If it is having multiple diseases, if a patient's body is having, at that condition also it becomes very frequent that the patient requires 3 to 4 medications administered inside their body. Next one is the age. Due to age also the adverse drug reaction can happen. Next one is the drug characteristics, the gender and the genetic profile of the patient's history. Now, there are different types of adverse drug reactions which are classified into type A. Type A is basically such adverse drug reactions which are dose related and it is predicted, and they are predictable adverse drug reactions which is being noticed during the clinical trial study of the drug. Type B is the bizarre or the unexpected type of adverse drug reactions, and type C is the adverse drug reaction which happens inside the body after a long exposure of the drug or the chronic use of the drug. Type D is such adverse drug reactions which are experienced in the body after the delayed exposure. Type E is such adverse drug reactions which happens inside the body after the end of the treatment. Now, for the reporting of adverse drug reactions, pharmacovigilance is the newer and the advancing branch of pharmacology which has been emerged. Now, pharmacovigilance is made from two words. Pharmacon means drug, vigilare means to keep a watch. So, when the drug is launched in the market, so basically from there only the phase 4 studies are happening. So, phase 4 studies are basically the post-marketing studies, or it is also called as the surveillance studies. So, in these studies, what things are being counted? So, it is counted that what adverse drug reactions or what side effects your drug is producing when it is launched in the market. Because when the drug is launched in the market, so a lot of people, a lot of population, a larger population of the people are using those drugs. So adverse drug reactions are noticed at that period only. And earlier, before the tragedy which happened in the 1960, what was that tragedy? That tragedy, we called it as a thalidomide tragedy. So basically, thalidomide was a drug which was consumed by the pregnant women, and that thalidomide drug caused the deformity of the limbs in the children which were produced by those mothers who consumed this thalidomide during their pregnancy. So it was a disaster of that particular period. So from there only pharmacovigilance, this field emerged, and from there it is given a very utmost important that if any adverse effect is reported in the case of drug after it is launched in the market, either after 3 years it has been noticed, after 5 years it has been noticed. So every those adverse drug reactions are reported to the monitoring team, and the monitoring team for India, we call it as a adverse drug reaction monitoring centers. ADRMC centers are established in the various parts of the India and the various headquarters, and the headquarter is at IPC Ghaziabad, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. So it is linked with the WHO. So whatever adverse effects are being noticed by the drug, so the clinicians, the pharmacists, the physicians, the patients, they all are having the authority to report this adverse drug reaction directly to the IPC, and from there it is being into the knowledge of the WHO, and from there the safety could be the main thing that we want in the case of pharmaceutical field. Drug interactions are the pharmacological activity of when the one drug is altered by the concomitant use of another drug or by the presence of the other substance. The drug whose activity is being affected, such type of interaction we call it as a object drug, and the agent which precipitates such an interaction is referred as the precipitant drug. So the types of drug interactions could be the drug-drug interactions when we consume the multiple category of drugs at a time, drug-food interactions, chemical drug interactions, drug-herb interactions, and drug-disease interactions. So these interactions are also very important. Why? Because if your drug is interacting with another category of drug and you are not aware of that, so it will create again the adverse effect or the side effect. Now, the drug discovery and drug development is a very long period of approximately 15 to 20 years and is divided into 3 stages of drug development. First one is the drug discovery phase, which is includes the 7 to 8 years of invention. Preclinical phase is those phase when the lead molecules or the molecules which are once extracted, now they needs to be studied under the animal body. Such type of studies we call it as a preclinical studies, which is counting for 2 years. Third one is the clinical trial studies or the clinical trial phases or the clinical study, which is approximately covering the time span of 5 to 6 years. Clinical trial studies are divided into 4 important phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4. Phase 1 studies are those studies in which the drug subjects, the drug is given to the normal subjects, normal patients, and they are not having the disease for those drugs, and the effect of the drugs, its ADME is studied. Now phase 2 is the drug is given to those patients, diseased patients, and there is a quantity of 100 to 200 patients, and the ADME and the pharmacodynamic of the drug is studied. And phase 3 are such studies in which the patient size is increased from 100 to 500 or 100 to 300, and the ADME and the pharmacodynamics of the drug is studied. In this phase 2 and phase 3 only, all the adverse effects, side effects of the drugs are also studied, that what are the side effects your drug is producing. Now after phase 3 studies only, the a new drug approval license is filed, and once the NDA is obtained, the drug is now launched in the market. And once the drug is launched in the market, the phase 4 studies or the post-marketing studies begins, which is a part of your clinical trials only. Thank you.